If you're a big swim team and you like to order a lot of gear, maybe you ought to check out Swim Outlet Team Division for these reasons. Swim teams receive a 10% discount on bulk orders. Swim teams or organizations get an 8% commission on referred sales. You'll also like their customization services, which is affordable and available at all times during the year for all team gear. With over 50,000 items in stock, you can get most anything you want. Swim Outlet Team Division. You need to try it out. You'll be glad you did.
This is the Morning Swim Show for Monday, February 19th, 2014. I'm your host, Jeff Commings. Swimming in Hawaii got a big boost last week when one of its own, Jasmine Mau, broke the independent high school record in the 100 butterfly at the state championships with a 52.23. Jasmine's success is due in no small part to her coaches at Kamehameha Swim Club, John and Kevin Flanagan. For the past 14 years, the brothers have guided the program to multiple state titles and many other accolades that are making them the most successful coaches in Hawaii. And joining me now in the Finis monitor from Honolulu are John and Kevin Flanagan. John on our left, Kevin on the right. Guys, it's good to see you. How are you today?
Good. Good morning. Morning.
Congrats on the record. I'm assuming you were there watching her swim?
Yep, we were both there.
Now, since it was a high school meet, I would imagine you weren't allowed to actively be Jasmine's coach on deck. Is that right?
Yeah, not actively, but we still figure out ways to, communicate to all our kids that swim at different programs.
How are you able to do that? Because like you said, your kids are all swimming in different high schools. So how do you kind of get all the information that they need, while making sure that, you still give their high school coaches a little bit of credit as well?
Well, Kevin coaches at Kamehameha, and he's coaching the high school during the meet, and I was there just kind of on the side as the club coach. But we keep a respectful distance, and the kids, if they want to come to us, we're there, for them to talk to us.
Yeah, we also talk about all the races prior to the meet and things that we want the kids to be thinking about and stuff like that too. So it's we plan it out pretty well beforehand.
So John, what was it like being a coach but yet being a spectator for your kids, all your kids that you're watching at this meet?
It was awesome. Yeah, I mean, there's no responsibility. I showed up, just hung out, got to watch. It was good to just be entertained by fast swimming.
And just to see Jasmine go a national independent high school record in the 100 fly, was that ever a goal at any time during the season, or was this kind of like a nice little surprise at the end?
Well, that's kind of funny. It was, she didn't even know about the record until I think maybe a week and a half before the meet. John kind of passed it on to her and said, "Hey, just FYI, here's the record." And I think she actually had to ask her high school coach to put her in the 100 fly. I don't think she was even going to swim that event beforehand. So it was a good little surprise, although we were kind of aware all along, but we don't like to make a big deal out of records and times. We focus a little bit more on how to swim the right way. And we kind of believe all that stuff will come as a result of good training and stuff like that.
Well, in this case, John, I'm glad you told her. Otherwise, we would not be talking about a national high school record. We would probably never have happened.
Yeah, I know it's something, and I know it's been probably many decades from Hawaii. I know in the 70s, at least, that may have been the last time we've had someone from Hawaii break a national record, and we're really proud of her. But use those things to kind of help motivate them. And for her, she's swimming that race out in front, and sometimes you need stuff like that to get you going.
Now, last March, Jasmine went 52.7 in the 100 fly twice. And I think a lot of people watching this show will understand that it's not easy to get 5/10 faster, even if you're a teenager who's still growing and continuing to improve. What kind of work, Kevin, have you done with Jasmine to get her those 5/10?
When you get down to the 52 range, picking up a tenth or two is a big deal, and I think sometimes young swimmers don't really realize that. But Jasmine is terrific at being very analytical with everything she does. She breaks down the race from how she stands on the block to how she touches the wall at the finish of the race. So she's one of those unique swimmers that's able to really focus on each different part of the race. So we break down things from fly kicks off of every wall to how she hits the wall to how she angles off the wall. So she's a perfectionist. She likes to get it right. So focusing things over the course of the past year has really, I think, been the difference with getting a 10th here, a 10th there. that, we preach that all that stuff adds up, and I think in this case it really helped.
So John, I guess she's extremely easy to coach.
Yeah, she's one of those. I mean, we talk to our swimmers and we ask them to come to us and communicate. We want them to ask us questions, and during workout, we want them to be, be on their swimming and responsible for their swimming. And she's one of those that takes that time during workout. Can you watch my stroke? Can you see what I'm doing here? That, and that's something that, as a coach, you want to see, and it's good to see.
And obviously the natural conversation now turns to long course. Is she just as good a swimmer in long course?
We're working on it.
Yeah, she's progressing. I mean, at Junior Nationals last year, I think she was third in the 100 free long course. She has terrific underwaters, but she's very good on top of the water as well. And I think over the next 2 or 3 years, we're really going to see that as she gets a little bit stronger.
I think that's a place that she could have a lot of improvement, is work on the swimming above water, and that'll also help her yard swims as well.
Yeah, when she goes to California, I'm sure she's going to take a lot of the lessons she's learned with you guys and apply them there as well. And I think it's going to be, like you said, the next 2 or 3 years, I think she's really going to continue to grow.
I hope so. I think they're getting a really good swimmer. They're lucky out there.
What's the atmosphere been like at Kamehameha Swim Club in this past week, now that you guys have a national high school record holder on your team?
To be honest, I don't think a lot of people around here really know the severity of it, or the how big of a deal it is. So things here are, as advertised, pretty laid back, and we're really proud of Jasmine, but it's not like there's any big fanfare about it. We're just back in the pool, training, getting ready for the next meet. So
we've got the sectional championships coming up in about 2.5 weeks, and our message to the kids, you got to be pleased but never satisfied. And for her, we want to find a way to get better from here. And that was a big swim, but we want to find ways to swim even faster in the future.
Well, this is not the first big swimmer you guys have coached. You also had someone go to the 2008 Olympics. Is that correct?
Yeah, one of our former swimmers, Jared Heine, actually ended up coaching with us, represented the Marshall Islands back in 2008, and that was a pretty cool experience for Jared and us and everyone involved in our team.
Well, that's really nice. Both of you went to college in the eastern coast of the United States. John, you were at Auburn. Kevin, you were at Florida State. What convinced you guys to, I guess this is kind of an easy question, I'm thinking about it. What convinced you to come back to Hawaii for coaching?
Well, I mean, just we love it here. Grew up here, and it's something that we have family, and that's always important to have close by. But it's just motivated to see Hawaiian swimming do well. It has a long history of and tradition of excellence. And the world has caught up. There was, decades ago that Hawaii was on top, and but as far as getting Olympians and being a big part of the swimming internationally, but we're here motivated to just try and improve swimming in Hawaii.
For me, it was just that growing up here, I know I never wanted to live anywhere else, so it was pretty easy to come back.
I can imagine. And you mentioned a lot of the tradition there. Obviously, Duke Kahanamoku is one of the big names that come out of Hawaii and represent at the Olympics. I'd spoken with Victor Wales, the head coach at the University of Hawaii recently, and he had said it's pretty difficult for him to convince recruits to come and swim at Hawaii. Do you guys feel that it's difficult to get kids that live there into the sport?
It can be. I mean, because maybe you can relate a little bit in Arizona. We got good weather year-round, so there are a lot of different other sports that we compete with. Surfing is a big one. Golf, volleyball is huge here. So getting the kids to be in the water year-round can be tricky. And in this day and age in swimming, you got to be in the water. You got to put your time in. So it can be tough at times. That's for sure.
John, how many swimmers do you have on the team at different levels?
As far as the breakdown of levels, I'm not sure, but we have a little over 300 swimmers right now. We have 2 sites we work out of, and probably around 50 high school swimmers in total of all different levels.
John, in your spare time, as much as coaches get spare times, I know you were training for triathlons. Do you still do that?
I've taken a break from that. It's actually the last triathlon I did. It was in the end of 2011, and really enjoyed the sport. I got myself into doing Ironmans, and it takes a lot of time. I got 2 young daughters, and it just got to be a little bit too much for me to do and do right. You know, you want to compete, you want to be at a high level, and I just didn't have the time to do, you know, it as well as I wanted to.
Yeah, it's a very time-intensive sport to do 3 different events at once and have to train them well. Kevin, how about you? What do you do in your spare time?
I learned from my brother definitely not to get into triathlons. It's way too much time. So I spend as much time in the ocean as I can, surfing, spending time with my 2 young daughters and my wife. But try to spend as much time in the ocean as I can. That's where my passion is.
Well, that's good. That's good. Well, before we let you guys go, I'm sure, like you said, getting ready for sectionals, but we want to submit you guys to our final 5. These are 5 questions we ask all of our guests on the show. So, John, I'll ask you the first question. If you could change the order of strokes in the individual medley, how would you change it?
Well, probably put breaststroke first to get it out of the way. I think you should turn the breaststroke and change it in. For me, it was the rest stroke during the IM when I was swimming, and thankfully I didn't have to race Hugh Jeff, but they go breast, back, fly free, and have some of my stronger strokes at the end.
Okay. Kevin, next question's for you. Besides coaching, what's a career or job you would most like to try?
Wow, that's a tough one. You know, one of the reasons why I got into coaching was so I didn't have to do anything else. So I try not to spend too much time thinking about that. But being a professional athlete would be great, depending on, you know, which level you go. That would be a dream job of, you know, at the highest level.
Absolutely. John, on the flip side of that, what's a career or job you know you would not like to try?
Well, that's tough. You know, I definitely, I mean, and people have different jobs for different reasons, and I just, I think the hardest part for me, and I do some of this time, but definitely a desk job, sitting in front of the computer, you know, for many hours a day is difficult. So I think any chance to avoid that would be a good thing.
Kevin, if there's a rule in the swimming rule book that you could change or add, what would it be?
Wow. You know, that backstroke finish rule right now is a little tricky. We're having a lot of young swimmers that are getting DQ'd left and right about being completely submerged, and I don't know if it's an officiating thing. That one I would just eliminate right now. There's too much confusion with a lot of our swimmers, particularly on the young levels, getting disqualified on just the finish. That's one I would eliminate, you know, off the top of my head.
Okay. And this question's for both of you, and I completely understand if you say Hawaii, but where do you like to go for vacation?
I like to go to Bali. They got good waves, nice and affordable, beautiful beaches. So when I don't go skiing, that's the one spot I'd choose to go.
Okay.
For me, I mean, definitely a surf trip would be, you know, excellent. But you know, having 2 young kids right now, the priority would be like Disneyland.
Okay. Yeah, that's nice. Disneyland is a great place. Get to go hop over to the mainland every once in a while. Before we go, I'm curious what's on the whiteboard behind you. I see things like barbecue, which is just enticing me. What is that all about?
We work out at the Oahu Club here, where one of our pools is, and we have different parties that we run out of all the time. So I think it's just might be a schedule of activities to come here at the pool.
Well, it would be great to be able to train at a pool where there's a big barbecue going on, especially Hawaiian style.
It does make it tough to swim in the afternoon when the smells are coming through the air.
Well, it would make the swimmers probably want to swim harder because they get hungry and they want to get out and eat.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, guys, thanks so much for joining us today. Congratulations on helping Jasmine get the record, and we look forward to seeing you on deck soon.
Our pleasure. Thanks
All
a
right,
lot.
and good luck at sectionals.
Right on.
All right, so that's going to do it for today's edition of the Morning Swim Show. Be sure to stay with swimmingworld.com for the latest news in aquatic sports, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook. I'm Jeff Cummings. Thanks for watching.